Hello, vinyl community. It's become apparent that I need to address a topic. And that topic is why I still collect Bill Cosby records, tapes, books. Yeah. So this topic first arose, and I thought I had addressed it in a response to a comment. I recently showed this book among, some records and stuff I bought, and Heidi MacDonald made a very strongly worded, well-worded comment that really made me think. And I was really sort of almost embarrassed that not only had I shown this, but I had made comments that I guess she and maybe others had taken that I was sort of dismissing allegations against him. And I mean, that wasn't my intent. And I think in the video, my original video, I think I kind of glossed over, how I feel about the subject and why I still buy his stuff. So this is going to be, a more in-depth sort of response to that. But yeah, she really made me think and kind of second guess myself. But in the end, I have to stick by my own belief in the matter, and hopefully in this video you'll find out why. Now this video was actually prompted by a couple more comments that were made on another recent video. When I had been to an estate sale and I picked up this record. And so there were a couple comments. I actually wrote them down. So the first one was from IHY744PPP. He asks, "Do you think it's still permissible to buy Bill Cosby?" And then Baraka P. Dub says, "Bill Cosby, is it wrong to pick up his records?" So, I mean, I see sort of a trend of, whenever I show something Bill Cosby related, there's going to be questions like that. So I just felt the need to address it. All right. So I am going to show you, I pulled out my Bill Cosby records. I think I have them all here. I didn't pull out my Bill Cosby tapes. They're all scattered basically. So I'll be showing these as I'm kind of talking and going over my points. But first of all, we need to keep in mind that Bill Cosby has not been convicted. I mean, that's an important fact. He has not been convicted. And as far as I know, in this country, at least as it should be, and I think our ideal is we're innocent until proven guilty. So I think, everyone needs to be treated as such, regardless of the allegations. He has not been convicted. So let's keep that in mind. My next point is, you'll notice that these are all used records. And the book I showed is a used book. In fact, I don't think I've ever bought anything by him new. And so my point of that is he's never earned a penny from any of this. Any of these things I've bought, he hasn't earned a penny. So, it's not like he's profiting based on my purchasing his stuff. So then the question becomes, for me, I have to ask, like, does the art, and he's an artist. Comedians are artists. Actors are artists. Painters obviously are artists. Songwriters are artists. Record producers are artists. Basically, is the art tainted by anything that may or may not have been done in the artist's life? And for me, the way I look at it, I have to say no. For those of you that are artists, artists basically describe their works of art as their children or their babies, and when they release it to the public in whatever form, they basically consider it their child is unleashed upon the world and is on its own, essentially. And that's really how I see it. Any form of art it stands on its own. It's a separate entity from whoever created it. So Bill Cosby's comedy is separate. You might even describe it as set in stone, and it existed separate from his life, and it lives on separate from his life. So basically, for other examples of this, and one thing that sort of shaped my not really understanding, but my belief that art is separate from the artist, or art is separate from the person that created it. I'm a big Doors fan. As a Doors fan, I read every book I could get my hands on, and I learned through all this reading that Jim Morrison was not someone I admired at all. His behavior and his life choices, and it goes against everything that I morally believe in. But then I decided, I'm not going to stop liking the Doors and their amazing music because he was a prick or a jerk, or even did illegal things. He's famous for drug use, and I'm not comparing drug use to what Bill Cosby allegedly did, but that kind of formed that separation between the art and the person that created the art. Now into some really significant examples. Phil Spector. Okay, he was convicted of murder. You can't get much worse than that. And so do we keep his art separate from him as a person, or do we lump them together and denounce the role he played in the Beatles' music, or he was involved in like so much popular music of that period, and I mean he was a huge record producer. He was well respected for his achievements, and so do we denounce and degrade his art because of what he did? I don't think we do. There would be a lot fewer Beatles fans, for one thing. Rick Allen of Def Leppard spousal abuse. He pled guilty to it. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I think the story there was he took his wife's, he grabbed her, I don't know, by the head and smacked it into the wall. I think in an airport, somewhere in an airport bathroom or something. I don't know. So basically, he pled guilty to, spousal abuse. Michael Jackson. He was accused, and again, never convicted, but he was accused of, child molestation, basically. So are we gonna burn all of our Michael Jackson records and not buy his stuff anymore? Another example is, Pete Townsend of The Who. There was a whole child pornography scandal. These are just some examples that I think, people at the time, they were, very upset with these people, and there was talk about, oh, don't buy their stuff or whatever. But that time, fortunately, that time passed because the art hasn't changed because of those acts. So to me, I'm hoping the whole thing with Bill Cosby is going to blow over. Of course, if he gets convicted, that's another story, and again, it'll eventually blow over. But I just think it's important to see the art separate from the person that created the art, because, are we going to start doing background checks on artists? And if we find out crimes they've committed, are we going to stop appreciating their art? And then also there's the question of degree. Like, okay, well, at what point is it decided that we can't appreciate their art anymore? Another example, and this is an even more extreme one than Phil Spector. Adolf Hitler was an artist. I think not everybody knows that. And if you look strictly at his art, it was pretty good stuff. It wasn't great, no, but it was pretty good stuff. So the fact that he's one of the most hated people that ever lived, and with good reason, does that change? Does that lessen his art any? I don't think it does. And people still buy his art. They pay tens of thousands of dollars for his art. So basically, to sum it up, I feel like by buying these Bill Cosby records and books and whatever I buy of his, I don't think it's really affecting anything. If I listen to this, I'm listening to it separate from whatever I may or may not believe about his life. And I'm just listening to the words. The words themselves exist, and that performance exists outside of anything he may have done. So I'll still be able to enjoy this stuff. It'll always be in the back of my mind, the accusations. But is that gonna keep me from enjoying his art? I think, and I would love to hear responses to this, but I truly believe the art has to be separate from the person that created it. So I hope I hope I was able to explain myself better here. But it's like, it's just like, where do we draw the line? And to take this outside of the artistic realm and into kind of the real world, I was deeply, deeply, deeply offended morally when Bill Clinton committed adultery, cheated on his wife. And I was baffled at why people still considered him a good president. But looking back on it, it's like, well, his presidency, which in this topic would be considered the art, his presidency is separate from anything he did in his personal life. Now, I still have absolutely no respect for the man because of that, because I have very high moral standards when it comes to such things. But I'm not going to say he's the worst president ever. In fact, I dare say, I mean, I'm not the most into politics, and I couldn't even give any examples, but he's probably going to go down in history as one of the better ones. So, and I'm not going to argue against that by any means. So anyway, obviously this is not a quick and dirty video, but I felt I had to address this topic based on the comments I was receiving. So hopefully this explains it a little bit. I might edit this down a little bit because I haven't done a 20-minute video in a long time. Anyway, well, hopefully I made my point, but the end result is I'm still going to collect Bill Cosby. Even if he gets convicted, I'm still going to collect it. It's separate. I don't consider it the same. So, yeah. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts. In fact, I'm sure I'll hear a lot of thoughts on this. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.